When the world speaks the name Young Noble, it echoes not in gold chains or platinum plaques, but in loyalty, legacy, and loss. As the final outlaw personally chosen by Tupac Shakur, Young Noble stood as the last torchbearer of a movement built on purpose, pain, and poetic revolution. At the time of his tragic passing on July 4th, 2025, Noble had an estimated net worth of $2 million. Not rich by industry standards, but rich in respect, resilience, and realness. His legacy? Cemented. His story? Often untold, until now. Early life, the rise before the mic. Born Rufus Lee Cooper III on March 21st, 1978, in Sierra Madre, California, Noble's life was no fairy tale. Raised amid the concrete realities of the West Coast. Then later in Montclair, New Jersey, his early years were split between the struggle and the dream. In Montclair, a young Rufus found kinship with neighborhood friends who would one day become rap royalty, including Hussein Fatal and Yaki Gaddafi. Together, they would spark verses in alleyways, turning survival into song. By the time he returned to Rancho Cucamonga, California at 16, Noble was writing like his life depended on it. Because it did. Rhymes became armor, lyrics became prayer, and the universe was listening. Destiny calls, Tupac and the Outlaws. In the mid-1990s, Destiny knocked, wearing a bandana and the soul of a prophet. Tupac Shakur discovered Noble through mutual circles and instantly saw in him something special: loyalty. Noble was brought into Outlawz Immortal, given the alias Young Noble by Pac himself, part of the group's tradition of names honoring historical revolutionaries. His official debut came in 1996 on the posthumous Tupac album, The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory. His verse on Hail Mary? Gritty, fearless, unforgettable. Penitentiaries is packed with promise makers / never realize the precious time that bitch niggas is wasting. He wasn't just rapping. He was testifying. After Tupac, the weight of the crown. Tupac was murdered in September 1996, and the hip-hop world fell silent. But Young Noble, just 18, kept marching. With Idi Amin, Castro, Napoleon, and Fatal, the Outlaws pressed on. Albums like Still I Rise, with Pac's unreleased vocals, Novocaine, and Ride With Us or Collide With Us became underground scriptures. Noble wasn't flashy. He didn't chase fame. He preserved it. His bars matured with time, from the rage of revenge to the wisdom of survival. He was no longer the soldier behind the general. He became the general. Solo path, the warrior speaks alone. Over the years, Noble released a string of solo albums that spoke truth with no filters. Noble Justice, 2002, his defiant debut. Son of God, 2012, spiritual and raw. The Code, with Hussein Fatal. Brotherhood immortalized. Outlaw Nation series, For the Culture, by the Culture, and a rebirth of a soldier, 2023, a comeback from near death. In a landscape of clout, Noble offered clarity, rhymes about black identity, fatherhood, trauma, and transformation. He never left the street. He elevated it. Personal life, the man beyond the mic. Away from the spotlight, Young Noble was a father, a partner, a mentor. Though never one to flaunt his personal life, those close to him say he was devoted to his children and his longtime partner, with whom he shared his final years in Atlanta. He was deeply spiritual, referencing God, karma, and universal energy in interviews and lyrics. While never conforming to any single religion, he embodied the best of them all: peace, justice, and love. And beyond rap, he gave back, hosting community workshops, launching Outlaw University, and mentoring youth who saw music as their only lifeline. He believed in redemption and in helping others find theirs. House tour and car collection. Unlike the rap moguls of his generation, Noble's taste reflected humility over hype. Home. In Atlanta, his house was a quiet fortress, a minimalist studio built into the basement, a backyard garden with African statues and Tupac quotes etched in stone, a spiritual room with candles, prayer rugs, and old Polaroids of Outlaw's days. It wasn't a mansion, but it was home. Car collection. Chevy Impala SS96, his first and favorite, Tesla Model Y for the conscious commuter, BMW X5, used during tour travel, and Dodge Charger Hellcat, his speed therapy. Each car wasn't about money, it was about meaning, health scare, and transformation. In 2021, Noble suffered a serious heart attack, a brush with death that would change him forever. During his recovery, he focused on clean living, plant-based diet, meditation, and family time. The incident inspired his 2023 album Rebirth of a Soldier, where he rapped, "God gave me one more round, and I ain't wasting shells this time." Fans saw a different side, softer, wiser, even more dangerous on the mic. But sadly, the healing was temporary. Tragic end. The final chapter, cause of death. On July 4th, 2025, just a day before his death was confirmed publicly, young Noble was found in his Atlanta home, gone at just 47 years old. Reports confirmed that he died by suicide, a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His last social media post, dated June 22nd, 2025, read, "You're not reading this by accident. You're next in line for your miracle." The irony, heartbreaking. Friends close to him cited a long battle with depression, survivor's guilt, and industry isolation. He had lost so many: Tupac, Gaddafi, Hussein fatal, even his own physical health in recent years. Yet Noble never asked for pity, only purpose. His death sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. Artists from Snoop Dogg to EDI paid tribute. He was the realist, loyal to Pac, loyal to us, loyal to truth. EDI young Noble never attended college, but his education came from the streets, the booth, the books, and Tupac. He often called Pac's mentorship his Harvard and the microphone his PhD. Later, he gave talks at community colleges and correctional institutions, sharing how faith, discipline, and self-publishing saved his life. Young Noble wasn't just the last outlaw. He was the last heartbeat of a generation that believed in music as a weapon. He stood by Tupac. He mourned Gaddafi. He buried Fatal. And in the end, he bore the entire weight of a movement on his back until it broke him. But he never sold out. He never forgot the mission. And because of him, the Outlaw's name lives. Legends never die. They just change frequencies.